Is this my button? Yeah. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 8:30 a.m. and welcome. In consideration of others in the business conducted today, please silence your phones and any electronic devices and refrain from speaking unless recognized by the chair. Again, this is a public meeting for the community, excuse me, of Glendora. We appreciate and respect your presence here this morning. Madam Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call?
Thank you. Yes, at this time, I'd like to conduct an oral roll call and request that each commission member respond with present when their name is called. Board Member Jarvis? You want? Is it not working? Okay. Is present. Board Member Klingler is absent. Board Member Nolan?
Present.
Vice Chair Hirth?
Present.
And Chair Snyder is absent.
Okay. At this point, we'd like to stand and face the flag for a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Does anybody wish, at this point, we'd like to address reordering or any additions to the agenda? Does anyone wish to reorder or add to the agenda? Seeing no comments, we will move on to opening this meeting for public comment. So this is the public comment period. I now invite members of the public to address the bid or the Business Improvement District Bid Advisory Board. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, speaking once, both on and off agenda items. All questions should be directed through the presiding officer. This is your time to speak uninterrupted. If you are in attendance, please fill out a speaker card and submit it to the recording admin before the close of the public comment period. Once recognized, speakers should advance to the podium, state your name and the subject matter you wish to discuss. If you are participating via Zoom, select the raise hand icon in Zoom before the close of the public comment period. Once recognized, you will receive a request to unmute, state your name and the subject matter you wish to discuss. I would like to invite those who in attendance to speak. And we have one public comment card. Fred Sparling.
Item number 4. I'm sorry.
So this is the only time that public comment is allowed, and you can speak on any item on the agenda. So you can, yes, you can come forward to speak.
Could be at the start of that.
You have 3 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. Thank you for being here and thank you for serving our village. We appreciate it very much. My name is Fred Sparling. I own the building at 146 and 148 North Glendora Avenue and also own Classic Coffee. I'm opposed to the change to the outdoor dining deal. And I'll tell you, my biggest objection is by increasing the size of the sidewalk. I think we're going to be increasing the number of skateboarders who, instead of using the skateboard park, use our sidewalks, and the number of bicyclers. I think the better solution would be to go ahead and enforce the current codes. Maybe have code enforcement go up and down the street twice a day for a while. And when they see a violation, let the business know that they're in violation. And if they don't correct it, they could be fined. And if they see people on bicycles and skateboards, letting them know that they're in violation. And if they continue, they could be fined. I think that would be a better solution than changing it for everybody in the downtown area for one or two people that may be causing the problem. And I wish you'd take that under consideration, and I thank you very much. And I'm not taking up my whole time. Thank you. Have a good day, and thank you again for watching out for our businesses. It's an important job, and I've served on the bid board twice myself, and you do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any other public comment cards?
Yes, we do have somebody via Zoom that has requested to speak. Katie Fosselman, if you can hear us, can you please unmute? Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Thank you so much. Yes, you've got 3 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Hi, my name is Katie Fosselman. I own the ice cream shop in the village. And I would like to address some issues that we're having in regards to events in the village in which the streets are shut down. Specifically, I'm talking about the car show, wine walk, holiday stroll. The main three issues are local businesses giving away items that food retail businesses sell, lack of access for food delivery drivers to pick up online orders, and fencing street closures during these events. During the events in the village, I would like to discuss implementing some business courtesy guidelines. I believe that when we host events in the village, local businesses should not give away items that local food retail businesses sell, and no outside street vendors should be hired to work the event. I know for a fact this type of courtesy is given to businesses in other cities. For example, someone wanted to hire our business as a vendor for the car show in Laverne last year, but the city chamber denied it because there was a yogurt store in the village and they would not allow us to compete. Last year at the car show, many real estate offices and mortgage companies set up booths in the streets and were giving away items for free that local businesses sell. We saw cookies and pastries given away, coffee, and there was even a root beer float stand root beer floats are being made and served for free. These events occur in the village and the streets are blocked off, and our regular customers do not have access to our food retail businesses unless they buy a ticket. It's detrimental to our businesses when other businesses that do not rely on food traffic and food sales give these items away for free. During these events, we have to rely on the attendees for our sales. I'm not only speaking for myself, I'm speaking on behalf of many food businesses in the village, as we have all voiced concerns and frustrations to one another. I understand local businesses like those real estate offices, mortgage companies, clothing stores, nail salons, give away food items to promote their own business and service. However, to show a business courtesy to one another, my recommendation would be that local non-food businesses hire vendors or activities to create a family-friendly environment instead of giving away free food to the attendees that they should be buying from the businesses that are in that event. They could hire balloon artists, rent oversized yard toys for game area, etc. Last year, another issue is last year at the car show, I arrived to my shop to find a metal fence had been placed across the side of my business, blocking the staircase going upstairs, and it went right up to my front door within inches. It also blocked one of my outdoor tables and a set of chairs. The fence was just thrown up and also completely blocked visibility to T. Phillips from the street. And I understand that our businesses are used as a barrier to ensure that only people who have paid for the event enter, but more care needs to be taken to respect the businesses during these events. These events are marketed to us as being good exposure for our business, but if the items that we sell are given away for free in the street and the fences are put up blocking visibility and making it look like we are closed, it is not good for our business. Most of the events happen on a Friday or Saturday when food businesses are usually really busy and we make the most money. I speak on behalf of many of the food retail businesses when I say that we absolutely love being a part of these events in the village, and I understand all businesses want exposure and marketing during this time. We would like to be given more business courtesy during these events so that the event is successful, as well as our businesses. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We have any other public comment cards or call-ins?
Thank you. Yes, if any other attendees would like to give public comment at this time, please use the raise hand icon. You can use the raise hand icon to be identified. At this time, we have received no request via the public comment email as well to give public comment. So I believe that is it as far as public comment.
Okay. At this point, we'll close the public comment period. And at this point, I'd also like to invite each board member to provide any statements or reports they may have. Nothing? You? Statements or reports? for you? Anything you want to? Nothing to report? Okay. Her microphone's not working, by the way. Okay. Hey.
Nothing to report.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, at this point, I'd like to invite Community Development Director Jeff Kugel and Housing and Economic Development Manager Valerie Velasquez to provide a statement.
I have nothing to report.
And I'd like to call on the President and CEO of the Chamber, Josina, to report.
Hello, everybody. My name is Joe, Senior Presidency of the Glendora Chamber of Commerce, and I thank you for allowing me to speak this morning. Just a couple of things I want to talk about. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. at the Glendora Village's very own Neon Dragon, we're going to be having a coffee mixer from 8 to 9 a.m. So please come out, support your local business, learn more about Neon Dragon. I'm sure everybody doesn't know what everything's, but come on out, 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. It's an hour, and go to work at 9, and then open your shops. It'd be great, except for when you're serving breakfast. Sorry, Don. And then second, car show's coming up. I know it's already, which I'll talk with the ice cream shop, because I understand, that, the other non-food businesses serving stuff, which really you're not supposed to. From what I know, it's against the law to serve food if you don't have a food permit. So, but we'll add that to our letter that we're going to walk around to all the businesses to kind of remember. But that car show is coming up August 20th in a couple of weeks, 6 to 11 p.m. It's the 34th year of the car show. It is sold out. The cars, tickets were pre-selling some of those, but most tickets are sold that night. 2 great bands, Silly Rabbit on the north stage and Rusty Venture on the east stage in the bus plaza. Booths, we don't have any food trucks, none of that. There's only 2 vendors coming, at Kettle Corn and Kona Ice, which I don't know if anyone does those in the ice, shaved ice, I'm not sure. But that's one thing I've tried to do the last several years, is not bring food stuff in, so our village businesses can provide that. But I want to remind the food businesses, the restaurants, maybe have something people could take, sandwich, and to walk around. And I know all the seats are usually full in the restaurants and stuff, but just as a reminder, because people like that, they want to walk around and they'll hold their hot dog or their sandwich or something like that. So, and we'll also remind people, don't have their root beer float stands out front of their office, because you're really not supposed to again. Other than that, August 20th, 6 p.m., the streets do start to close down about 1 to set stuff up. We try to minimize that as much as possible, but there's a lot of stuff that goes into this. And then we'll also work with the fencing, as mentioned earlier too, to try to minimize any disruption. So any questions with that at all?
So the street is closed only unless somebody buys a ticket to get onto the street. So just somebody who wants to come in and just go to dinner and not necessarily participate at the event, they just wanted to.
Yes.
It's closed. They can't get on to the street.
Well, it is a ticketed event.
Okay.
So yeah. Now we get people, we'll have a reservation at a restaurant. Okay, well, it's a fun fundraiser that goes back in the community. And that's why there's a charge for it.
And are you able to now with the part, I'm trying to remember how it was last year with the, on Mita there,
Mhm.
do you fence off where that seating area, the 2 seating areas, are those
On the,
in front of T-Phil's and next to Frisella's?
but on
So
the
are those-
outside,
So they're all on the outside. So that's where the fence is we were referencing. So
Yeah.
it's fenced off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, east and west of those new seats and stuff. So all the seats are on the inside. Yeah. Unless someone tells us otherwise that you want it different. Because I know that in past years where T. Phillips was with the fencing, we always talked with them do you want to be fenced in or fenced out? So a lot of times they wanted to be fenced out so people can eat in there and then come out. So that's why that's changed several times, but yeah, but and then with Stubborn Mule coming in, once we see someone over there to talk.
Yeah, I
with,
heard
we
them
can-
yesterday, a couple weeks out, so I think they'll be open for this, so.
Okay, good. Yeah, they'll be busy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Other than that, our legislative group is meeting again today at noon, talking about all these great laws and stuff that our representatives are trying to push through, and we're fighting a bunch of them because there's a lot of business killers and stuff that are just going to raise restrictions on all your businesses. So, but we're fighting hard for that. So just know that. And if you want to be part of that discussion, we meet at America's Christian Credit Union at 12 o'clock every first Thursday. So with that, thank you very much and have a great meeting.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, now we're on to the consent calendar. Item number 3, which is the minutes from the last meeting on July 7th. And I'd like to see, does anyone wish to comment on item number 3? The minutes? No? Okay, I'd like to request a motion.
I'll move to approve and file the consent calendar.
Use the voting client to motion. Excuse me.
We have a second. Can I second?
Of
I'll
course,
second.
yes. Wonderful. Okay, I will now open up the vote. Board Member Jarvis?
Yes.
Thank you. Board Member Nolan
Yes.
and Vice Chair Hirth?
Yeah, yes, did it not go through?
It did. Thank you. That passes 3-0-2.
Okay, let's see where we are. Okay, there are no member agenda items at this point, so now we are on to unfinished business. And this is the amendment to the Glendora Municipal Code to address outdoor dining in the Glendora Village. I'd like to invite the Housing Economic Development Manager, Valerie Velasquez, to report.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. So this is going to be, as mentioned, we're going to go ahead and give you an update on some amendments that are proposed for the Glendora Municipal Code with regard to outdoor dining. Next slide, please, Lorena. So as everyone is very familiar, in 2020, due to COVID-19 and health orders, the city went ahead and had outdoor parklets installed very quickly to make sure that the restaurants can continue operating and give them a little bit of an expanded dining area since indoor dining was closed. And that was very well received. And so the city moved to go ahead and make those parklets permanent, which we see now. And so now that these are going to be a permanent fixture in the city, we need to go ahead and make sure that we put some regulations into place and add that into our municipal code. Next slide, please. So currently the Glendora Municipal Code, or the GMC, does reference outdoor dining specifically to sidewalk dining. That is in section O of the GMC 21.06.070, which references the Civic Center Area Plan, which is the bid and the zoning development standards. So again, we are looking to go ahead and amend that so that we can go ahead and add the parklets. They were not foreseen when the GMC was first created for this section. And so staff, the Transportation Division, myself, Community Development Director, did meet with 2 community or BID board members here to go ahead and get some input as we created these amendments. So the proposed amendment is going to add the parklets to the GMC as well as update some of the existing standards for outdoor sidewalk dining. I also want to mention, as we go ahead and create these amendments for the sidewalk dining and kind of clean that up, I think the city is also going to expect that all sections of the GMC are followed. And so with that, it should be noted that currently any items that are within the right of way, the sidewalks, the planters are currently not permitted. So we'll go through that in a little bit with more detail, and then the board can discuss. And if they do decide they'd like to put some standards together, we can request some direction from city council to do that. So we'll get into that as well. Next slide, please. So just kind of taking a look at the proposed amendments. Though the proposed amendment is included in your packet, you'll notice if you read through it that the items that would be deleted are referenced with strike through language, and then at a language that would be added is in bold. So the first change is the title of section O would be changed to from sidewalk to outdoor dining. We've also added wine and beer tasting room, since we do have a wine tasting business in the village. The process will change from a encroachment permit to a use agreement. And that use agreement will need to be renewed annually. So they'll apply for it this first time, and then every year it will need to be renewed to continue operating. One of the other items is maintaining a primary pedestrian path, which was spoken on during the public comment. So you'll notice in that photo there, the 9-foot primary pedestrian path is that area that is between the buildings, and for the most part, that brick ribbon that you see. So, we're presenting this to the board so that you guys can discuss. And if there are any proposed changes to what we have, you can go ahead and let us know, and we can present that to the Planning Commission and Council as we move forward with the process. So also, in addition, currently entertainment is not permitted with our sidewalk dining right now. So moving forward, that's a possibility, but they will need to go ahead and apply for a conditional use permit with the Planning Commission. And alcohol will also require CUP and the proper approval from the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control. Next slide. So in the current GMC, power washing is required. We are removing that. And of course, just to make sure it's very clear, affixing any items to the right of way, whether that be the sidewalk or the street, is prohibited. Umbrellas should not be more than 10 feet in height and must be of a primary solid color. Again, this is something you guys can comment on whether or not you want to have a minimum height requirement, whether there's a minimum, maximum, something you guys can discuss. For safety purposes, lighting must not face the street. You want to make sure you have it pointed towards the parklets, the dining areas. And again, safety overhead electric cords, as you see in the photo here, are prohibited and should not be done. And of course, just because we don't foresee everything, additional comments or conditions may be added in the future, and violations are subject to penalties, fines, and revocation. Next slide. So again, as I mentioned, an outdoor use agreement is going to be required. There's an application. We provided a draft in the packet as well. So mostly very basic information, business and property owner information, making sure that everyone understands and acknowledges the terms of the operating standards. They are assuming the risk and responsibility as they use this area. They've got to have their proof of insurance as well, copy of the ABC license and CUP for the serving of alcohol. And then we are asking for a site plan to see how they're going to lay everything out on their parklets and sidewalk dining. So again, these agreements will be valid for 1 year, and they may be renewed annually, or they have to be if they want to continue operating. And also moving forward, we will conduct periodic inspections. Part of the reason we want to have these renewed annually. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned on the beginning, we are also expecting that the city or the businesses will comply with all of the sections of the GMC. And currently, the proposed amendment is going to ask that these restaurants no longer have tables and chairs against the building. But in addition, nowhere in the GMC does it allow items such as, furniture or A-frame signs, merchandise, anything of that nature to be placed in the sidewalk or in the planters. And so again, you see some photos of what we're referring to. In the first picture, you've got some signs, some flyers and plant stands, a little bit of art in the planters, and then just also some signs that have been placed in the planters. So this is something that the bid board can go ahead and discuss. If it's something that you think you would like to have a way or some kind of a process for businesses to continue to place items, what those standards are, we would want to go ahead and ask council for direction, and then council's in agreement with that, possibly form a subcommittee where either a member of the board, staff, maybe a couple businesses as well, can go ahead and work with staff and take a look at this current situation and see what would be workable for agreement and consideration by council to add into the GMC. Next slide, please. So right now, what we are asking for the board to do is to consider the proposed amendments specific to the outdoor dining. What will happen is we'll go ahead and ask for your approval of what we've placed before you, or with any modifications as you deem might be necessary. And with that, we will take it to both the Planning Commission and the City Council via public hearing. And then in addition, if you guys would like to request direction from council on placing items in the right of way, that would be a second step that we would start working on. Again, requesting direction from City Council and then forming a subcommittee to develop some standards. Next slide. And so with that, the recommendation is to adopt the proposed outdoor dining program and amendments to the Glendora Municipal Code. Or I'm sorry, that should be, recommend adoption to City Council. And then also, if necessary, request direction from council to develop the standards on the right of way. And with that, I'll submit it back to the board for discussion. Comments?
I think what I'm understanding is we can make some amendments to this at this point.
Right. What you can do is go ahead and
Or
comment.
recommend.
Right. You can recommend. You can say, the board has discussed it, but they would like to tweak this. And we will go ahead and let council know that we came to you with this proposed draft. And then after discussion or hearing some public comments, you guys would like to recommend this.
I tend to agree with Fred on the 9-foot section of sidewalk, that it's too much. And I know we have to keep an ADA 48 inches, but I think the city was at fault for not standing up to the ones that were in violation. And if they would just, go to those ones and say, you can't be blocking the sidewalk at this point, and then let everybody else continue to do what they're doing. Because not only are we talking about taking tables away from there or whatever for the food places, restaurants, but you're also talking about the individual businesses. If somebody has planters in front, they can't decorate their businesses now anymore. We're going to get to a point where we're going to tell them what color to paint their buildings, it sounds like, So I mean, I think we have to be a little bit giving in some of that, and I don't know if that's what the council wants or not, but I would say that's one thing. The rest of it I would go along with, but that's one thing I would make a change on.
Okay, and I think I would just maybe let us know what that recommendation is. I mean, are you talking about specifically, maybe giving in 2 feet? Well, I don't know what your table size is, but maybe say, you can extend from the building a maximum of 4 feet, because then that will give you still 5 feet clearance. You don't want to get too close to the ADA minimum. So I would, make sure you've got a second from your fellow board members as
Right.
well. But let us know if there's some kind of alternative
Yeah,
recommendation.
I would go ahead, Jeff.
I'm just gonna, maybe the way to do this is kind of to go through everybody's comments
Mhm.
on the ordinance. And then at the end, if somebody wants to make a motion to, recommend, let's say, approval with these changes, then the board can individually discuss those things.
Well, and this is something that we discussed in the meetings with the city and transportation. We do have, or the restaurants and, have parklets now. So that's one of the things that the city noted, was that now there's more tables outside for the restaurants and the food businesses. So there's no need for, tables right against the buildings, which would clear, a path for strollers and, families to walk along the sidewalk. I mean, we have had a lot of foot traffic in Glendora, it seems like lately, joggers and strollers and, people walking their dogs and things. So, I mean, we do have standards, I guess, and parklets now for, opening up that area. I do agree that, our city, I think our city needs to be beautiful and welcoming to our, customers and our community. So like the planters and things, I think add to some of that charm. If the city ordinances that, we can't have those things, then, maybe we should have a subcommittee for, looking into that and getting those approvals for that from the city. But I think as a standard, it's not, like, I thought it was unreasonable at first, but once meeting with the city, like, I think we can work together to figure something, out that works for everyone. So.
Okay. And my only thought, well, my first question was the 9-foot right of way, was that a legal standard, but it sounds like it's just the 48 inches is for the ADA. And then, so where did the 9-foot come from? Just because that's from the building to the brick ribbon, or?
Go ahead.
Yes, basically, it was just making sure you had that clear pathway, and we don't have stuff that's against the building starting to, encroach into the 48-inch area. But yes, for the most part, on average, it's about 9 feet from the building to the brick ribbon.
Okay.
And I think the issue was what we heard when this was first presented to the council, is that the issue is that there are quite a few things within the walkway, and that you're having to
Zig and zag.
and meander, and that was the idea, was to have at least a clear path,
Okay,
a straight path that pedestrians could follow.
sure. Okay, that addressed that. And regarding that point, I'm not opposed to having the tables against the building. If that helps the businesses to drive more clients and be able to serve more people, then I'm all for that. I know I've run into, at your location, for example, there's times you want to be up close to the building because otherwise the sun's beating down on you on the parklet. So I was like, oh no, I want to be under here under the awning, so the sun's not hitting me. And I'm sure it's the same thing over at Classic Coffee too in the afternoon, depending upon where you get yourself situated. So there might be preferred seating if it's right up against the building versus out in the parklet at certain times of the day. The one question I did have on this is just for the restaurants that are in front of a parklet. I'm assuming, could a business that's maybe next door be using these parklets maybe when a business isn't using it, like at night? Let's say they're not open for dinner every night, and maybe a real estate office next door wants to use it for an event. Do they have to get some sort of special arrangement as well for that, or is that not even allowed?
I think under the proposed ordinance, it's basically what it says is that to keep 9 feet clear from the building. So-
She's saying if other, because now there's a use agreement with the business directly, can another business use that area when they're closed?
Or, and even the parklet?
That they would have to be part of an agreement with the city to do that.
So like as a one-time, I forgot what's called, the one-time use. Let's say they're having an event that night and they want to
Get a
use
special
Yeah,
event
if you get a special event permit.
to use that parklet. Otherwise, the agreement currently would just be with the restaurant in front of the parklet.
Right.
Got it. Okay. Okay, and so that helps me with that. And then it was regarding the potted plants and the displays. I personally think they're charming. I think it gives some character to our town, and we're not all just very uniform and everything all the same. So I don't have a problem with them. I totally agree that whatever the rule needs to be, if it's a 5-foot straight line, I mean, because the last thing you want is somebody maybe in a wheelchair having to moving around obstacles. That's not what we want. But if there's a way that we can develop some sort of a set of standards that they can do some of these things, I don't know if it's in the planters, next to the planters, whatever. But as long as they keep that at least 5-foot path, I think it's nice. I like it. I like to see the signs and the clothing lines that come out, and some of them want to have their sidewalk sales and things. So I think that's kind of what keeps us quaint. So that's my opinion on that. So at this point, I guess the recommendation is to adopt the proposed outdoor dining agreement. So we have to address that one first, right?
Right, so recommend adoption. So let us know what you would like to see, what you would like to let us know let planning and and city council know what you would like to see modified.
So
So
it'd be
specifically
like the
let-
9
yes.
feet versus the 4 feet or 5 feet.
Yeah, so
things.
the motion would be that the planning commission and city council adopt the ordinance with these changes.
Changes. Got it. That's what we like.
But what do we call this change then? If we want to if we want to change the 9 foot to,
I think that's what the board has to discuss, and that's the purpose of a motion. So if you, for Don, for example, if you made a motion, I would make a motion that we adopt it with the one change is that instead of a 9-foot clearance, there be a 48-inch clearance.
all right, that's fair. So
And that number 2, probably that sounded like, if you wanted to have a additional discussion on other things that are placed in the sidewalk and the planters, that would be the second one. And then
is that separate? Is that separate from this, or is that included in that 9 foot clearance?
Well,
We said, okay, we're gonna continue to allow 4 foot clearance there, for example. Then those planters and that would be within that 4 foot clearance, correct or not?
Well, no, because
I mean,
currently,
when I
outside of
say
it.
the planters, I mean, like if somebody has a planter in front of their building, or if somebody has a cart for the real estate office, have the carts with their signs on them or whatever out.
well, the purpose of the 48-inch clearance is just so a wheelchair can
Right.
get through.
Right.
but to answer your question, currently the code does not permit, there's not a way for anybody to have anything in the right of way. So if something's in the right of way, it's currently out of compliance. The only things that are allowed under our municipal code are outdoor dining items. So if they're not specific to outdoor dining items, they are not in compliance. So regardless, if we want to start complying with the code, we need to develop those standards for what will be allowed in the right of way, including sidewalk and planters.
So that would be separate from the restaurants.
It
then.
is separate.
So it's 2 different items that we're talking about.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
And then to clarify the 48 inches, does it matter? Is it starting from the building going out, or is it from the red brick going
We
in?
should make it uniform.
Yeah, I think you'd have to figure it out. I
I think if you want tables at a restaurant, you want them against the building.
Building,
So
right.
the
So
48 inches should be out.
From that red
outside of
ribbon.
point. Yeah.
something, I'll just put this out there. And this is, it's hard to enforce because the city's not going to be out there every day. We're going to maybe be out there once every 3 months. But you could, if you want to allow a 2-top against the building, people will still put more chairs there, but that would at least keep a clear path and you wouldn't be zigzagging.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's about 24 inches, probably. Well, depending, I don't know, everybody's tables are a little different, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, so ours.
Well, I would make a motion to reduce that 9-foot path to at least, I would say 4 feet, 48 inches, or 4 feet, 5 feet, somewhere around there. I'm not sure exactly where that starts, whether it's the ribbon of the building. I would think it would be the ribbon coming towards the building so that the buildings can have building tables right next to them, similar to what they are now. So that would be my recommendation. So I make a motion for that. So we need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, so that is a motion to recommend adoption of the proposed outdoor dining program amendments to the GMC with a recommendation to change the 9-foot clearance to 48 inches and then request direction from city council to develop standards permitting signs, potted plants, displays in public right of way. So that is a motion. I think you can use the voting client at this point.
Oh, wait, she did it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. A motion by Vice Chair Hurth and a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Oh, there we go. I will open the voting client. Board Member Jarvis,
Yes.
Board Member Nolan,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hurth.
Yes.
Thank you. That passes 3-0.
So that basically covered both of those then.
You guys did go ahead and make a motion that was included in what she read. So yes, we will recommend to council, or we will ask direction for the other items.
Right, okay, perfect. Okay, hardly need it. Okay. Okay, okay, at this point, we'd like to go on to the item number 5, the 2022 Wine Walk and Beer Fest review. And I'd invite Housing and Economic Development Manager, Valerie Velasquez. Wow, it's a mouthful. To report, please.
Thank you. All right, next slide, please, Lorena. Okay, so recap on the wine walk. As everyone is aware, it occurred on Saturday, June 25th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. There were 18 BID businesses that participated as wine stations. And then in addition, there were 5 beer stations with live music, and there was a sellout attendance. The Wine Walk Committee had actually planned for about a 1,200 full ticket admission. We ordered 1,200 wine glasses, had 70 in storage from prior years. So there was a total of 1,270 wine glasses. And the total of tickets that were issued were 1,336. That included 67 non-drinker and 1,269. So we just had one leftover glass, which was probably broken. So we probably have 0 at this point. So next slide, please. So this event is included in the annual plan for the BID, and it has a budget of $20,000. You will see a summary of the expenditures for the event here on this slide. The total came into $18,351. I will just go ahead and say, so that everyone is aware, we did go ahead and hire the event coordinator, but those expenses were placed in the miscellaneous category. So they are included in the budget review, and you'll see her fees are in a separate category. Next slide, please. So as far as the revenue, there is a projection of revenue for $40,000 in the budget. We came in way above that at $62,165. The ticket sales contributed $52,175. And then there were several cash sponsors contributing $6,750. And then the cost to the pour stations is $3,240. And I'll just mention that what the pour stations pay is just a subsidized amount. The value they receive is much greater. The wine alone costs more than what their fees are. So it's great that we were able to go ahead and recoup and get this much of a revenue in for the bid. And what will happen is this will go ahead and add to your cash balance, or eventually if a fund balance, if eventually you guys want to do some kind of a larger project, you guys do have some healthy reserves. Next slide, please. So just want to go ahead and acknowledge all of the sponsors that were very helpful here. Both cash and in lieu sponsors are here on this little depiction here of this little image. You'll see all of the sponsors that we had, and they were marketed on the different forms of advertising on the website, Eventbrite and so forth. Next slide. So this was just a very successful event. Thank you to everybody that contributed, to Jana and Kathy, who were very busy on the committee to make this happen. So if there's anything else you guys want to add, but otherwise this is a receive and file report.
Okay. Any questions from anybody on the board? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file.
Make a motion to receive and file.
I'll second it.
Thank you. I will open up the vote. Board Member Jarvis,
Yes.
Board Member Nolan,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Hirth.
Yes.
That passes 3-0. Thank you.
Moving on to number 6, Business Improvement District Advisory Board Fiscal Year 2021-2022 Financial Report through June 30th and bid expenditures for 2021-22 year to date. I'd like to invite Valerie Velasquez, Housing and Economic Development Manager, to speak.
Thank you. So again, this is just a summary of the expenses for the BID. The report is through June 30th. So basically the end of the fiscal year. However, some of the revenues and expenditures still trail afterwards. So even though this is through June 30th, it's only 99% complete. We will have some adjustments. For instance, if you notice, I just let you guys know that the wine walk revenue was 62,000. Well, here it only shows 24,000 because our check from Eventbrite came in afterwards. So when you take a look at this, you'll see that the expenditures are in at 71,000 and the revenues are 74. So we still had a balanced budget here, but there's going to be a lot more revenues when we have the final overall picture for what the fiscal year looked like. So you've got that sheet, and then also you've got the detail of the expenditures in your packet. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those, but otherwise, very healthy year. Wine Walk was a great success that added to that. And I'll also just say that while the revenues weren't in for the Wine Walk, you'll look at the expenditure line and all of the expenses were in there. So there's not going to be much of a decrease, just really an addition to.
Great.
So back to you, receive and file.
Okay. I make a motion to receive and file.
I move to receive and file the financial report.
Thank you. The motion by Board Member Jarvis, second by Board Member Nolan. I'll open the vote. Board Member Jarvis,
Yes.
Board Member Nolan,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hirth.
Yes.
Thank you. That carries 3-0.
Okay, number 7, quarterly marketing update for the village, for the Glendora Village. I'd like to invite Valerie back to report on this.
Thank you. So this is the periodic update that we receive from the marketing consultant. And again, I'm not an expert, so I'll just kind of go off the slides that she's provided to us. So next slide, please, Lorena. Oh, so these metrics are, sorry, you knew that, right? These metrics are going to cover the quarter from April through June 30th. Okay, so here we'll go ahead and take an overall look at what she manages, which is Facebook, Instagram, and the website. So for the quarter, she posted 89 posts. Goes ahead and shows that the reach is 109,000 with 1,405 likes and 159 comments. And I'll just mention she has a slide later on that will tell you that the reach is how many individual viewers went ahead and saw those posts. And then in that other category, impressions is much higher than a reach. And that's because that could be one person looking at something multiple times. So it's counted each time somebody sees that. So the reach is really more of a key metric as to how many people have seen the post. So Instagram, 56 posts, reach of 97,682. And I'll let you go ahead and just take a look at what those engagements and likes were. And then on the website visitors, there were 2,661 visitors within the quarter. Next slide. And then she just kind of put some charts in here that give you a visual representation of the activity on the Instagram. You can see that the followers are steadily increasing. Again, the impressions, that can be multiple or same person looking at something multiple times, but you see that's kind of an up and down. And the reach is there as well. Again, kind of up and down. Next slide. This is a look at the website visitors, and you'll see as we led up to the wine walk, it increased. So April, there were 267. And then in May, 1148, and then the wine walk was in June. So we just kind of saw that kind of continue to go up as people were looking for information on the wine walk. Next slide. And then these were just some of the key searches that people were typing to get to the website. Next slide. And again, that just kind of goes over those definitions for what an impression, reach, and engagement is. Next slide. So here she presented a summary and shows that on the Facebook, there were some increases across the engagements, the reach, and the likes as compared to the previous period. And similar with Instagram, she put the statistics as far as what the increase from the prior period was. And of course, you're going to have that increase because of the wine walk and because of more interest in what's happening in the village at that time. Next slide. And then she gave us a little bit of info on the website, on the wine walk activity. Next slide, please. So here again, similar, the posts that were specific to the wine walk were 36 and 27. And then she put the statistics for the engagement on those as well. And then the wine walk has a dedicated website. So that website specifically had 2,332 visitors within that quarter. Next slide. And then here she just kind of gives you an example of the posts. That one, I believe, is the first post that she had posted announcing the event. And that one garnered 245 likes on Instagram. Next slide. And then again, just some key searches on Google that brought up the Wine Walk website. Next slide. And then this is a lot of information, but just kind of goes over the different things that she did to go ahead and market the Wine Walk. Kind of the key search was Glendora Wine Walk. It was the first result. She did over 60 posts, put stories on both Instagram and Facebook. There were some paid social media ads as well. And of course, going ahead and reaching out to participating businesses as well to go ahead and ask them to help share and promote the event. And then the posts were directly linked to Eventbrite so that we can try and get people to buy tickets right away. And again, it was a great, successful event. Next slide. So that is it. This is also a receive and file report.
Okay, I'll make the motion to receive and file.
I'll move, I'll second that.
Thank you. Can you use the voting client or? Thank you. I will open up the vote. Board Member Jarvis,
Yes.
Board Member Nolan,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hurth.
Yes.
Thank you. That carries 3-0.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to invite any board members or staff to make any closing comments.
Well, I mean, the discussion with the item 4 of the agenda, I would suggest that the board look into establishing a subcommittee so that we can have discussions with the downtown businesses about, what they want and expect from the ordinances and the, what the city wants. And we could be the go-through. So everybody's happy, I mean, we all have to make compromises. That's the nature of the game. Not everybody's going to get what they want, but if we could reach a consensus so that everybody's happy, I think that would be a win for us.
So the motion was already made and the item was passed. Do
Right.
you want to?
It was just a discussion. I'm just stating that
Okay,
I'm not.
so there's
making
no
a
action
motion
that
for
you want
anything.
taken at this point?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
Just want to read something really quickly here.
I would say that perhaps if you'd like, as you guys are just in your daily conversations with your neighbors, if you know of somebody who might want to serve on that committee, once we get direction from council, it's early to do that now, but once we get direction from council, if there's people you know of that would like to serve on the committee, that might be helpful.
Okay.
And Don, any comments, questions?
Nothing, sorry.
Okay. And at this time, it is 9:22 and this meeting is adjourned.